Everybody ready?
Give me like 2 seconds.
2 seconds.
More than that.
He's like, oh,
No,
Maybe 60 seconds.
Right, literally now.
1,200.
Lieutenant Gallagher will be the one speaking, obviously.
It's more like 60 seconds, right?
Oh, yeah, you're right.
What's the spelling of? I'm sorry. Just said
his name, G-A-L-L-A-H-E-R, Lieutenant, and then first name, S-T-E-V-E.
How would you spell it? S-M-I-T-H.
G-A-L-L-A-G-H-E-R.
No, G-A-L-L-A-H, as in hotel, E-R.
Siri. She didn't spell it right.
Siri don't like that name.
She didn't like it.
Autocorrect. Just like every time I have to text Dingy, it texts finger.
Yeah.
So one day I'm like, call Dingy.
Call Bader.
I autocorrect for that. You ready?
Alright, cool. There you go. Bye.
Afternoon. I'm here to announce an arrest in the murder of Marilyn Alou, 71-year-old white female. Occurred in her residence at 1702 Swimming Salmon Place North. September 8, 2013 at 7:30 p.m. Marilyn Alou's adult daughter discovered her deceased inside her master bedroom in her house. Miss Alou's daughter had gone to the house because she hadn't been able to make contact with her mother for about a day. She was trying to reach her by cell phone. The homicide unit was notified and responded to the scene and discovered that Marilyn Alou had been strangled and was lying on the floor in her bedroom. Several items of evidence were missing. They were expensive pieces of jewelry, and it appeared that the suspect had entered through an unlocked sliding glass door at the rear of the house. Detectives determined the last time that Miss Alou had been seen was by a neighbor at about 4 p.m. the day before on September 7th. Detectives quickly learned also that Miss Alou had hired a man by the name of Marvin Jones to do some home improvement projects around her house. And in fact, on September 7th at about 12 p.m. noon, one of her relatives had come over and had seen Jones at the house. Detectives focused their efforts on Jones and learned that he had a girlfriend named Constance Messina, and that Constance Messina had pawned some jewelry that turned out to be Marilyn Alou's jewelry at a pawn shop on September 9th, 2013. Detectives also learned that same day that Marvin Jones had pawned some jewelry of Marilyn Alou's also. In trying to locate Jones and Messina, detectives learned that they had left Jacksonville and headed to Clewiston, Florida, where Jones has relatives. By the time they got to Clewiston, Florida, Jones and Messina had left. A search of the bedroom, after obtaining a search warrant for the bedroom that they stayed in when they were in Clewiston, revealed evidence. It was a bag that contained some of Marilyn Alou's jewelry. Arrest warrants were obtained for both Jones and Messina for dealing in stolen property at that time. A couple of days later, Messina was located in Massachusetts, where she was from, and interviewed by homicide detectives on September 13, 2013. She told detectives that Jones gave her the jewelry and that he said that he bought it from a drug dealer. She said she pawned the jewelry and that they split the money. She said that they went to Clewiston because that's where Jones had relatives and that he was wanting to flee Jacksonville, although she didn't say why. And then when they got to Clewiston, she decided to leave him and go back to Massachusetts. On October 10, 2013, Messina was extradited back to Duval County on the charges of dealing in stolen property. She pled guilty to those charges and was sentenced to approximately 1 year in jail. On November 19, 2013, Marvin Jones was located and arrested by the U.S. Marshals on our charges as well as domestic violence charges that originated out of Brevard County. He was located in Texarkana, Texas. Eventually, he was extradited back to Brevard County, where he ultimately pled guilty to the domestic violence and was sentenced. Last night, he was extradited to Duval County, and he was interviewed. The detectives that interviewed him said that he gave conflicting statements to the evidence, as well as the statements that he gave them back when he was originally arrested in Texarkana. They said his statements are refuted by the DNA evidence in this case, cell phone records, the pawn shop records, as well as various eyewitness testimony. Last night, Marvin Jones was charged with murder, burglary, dealing in stolen property, and grand theft. And I can try to answer a few questions.
Lieutenant, am I to gather from all of that the murder happened in his attempt to just steal jewelry from this woman?
That's what it looks like.
Stephanie Brown, WOKB. Do you know how the victim and suspect initially met, like how she knew him to get him to do the handiwork?
I think she hired a company, I don't know how big the company is, who Marvin worked for, and this was kind of a side job that he offered to do the work for a cheaper price.
And you mentioned that he had the domestic violence incident in Brevard County. Was that from prior to everything that happened here in Duval County? Did he live in Brevard before?
He did. I believe he's spent time there. I think it was his ex-wife or estranged wife. I'm not sure of the details.
Why wait to extradite him until now, if we've had him kind of in custody in Brevard for so long?
Just coordinating with the other jurisdiction in the state attorney's office. The best course of action was to handle the charges as they did.
He was Dana Transit Times Union. He was not working for that contractor when this happened. I mean, he had been working for a contractor and then no longer worked for that person. Is that right? He was doing side jobs.
My understanding is that he made a deal with Miss Alou to basically undercut his employer and do the work himself, and she had a better price.
Do you know what kind of work it was?
I believe it was working on a wood deck and doing some painting and some cabinet work.
Can you talk, Kelsey, on Channel 4, can you talk about the challenges faced in a case like this where it's spanning different states, within the state and different counties?
Well, with the cooperation of the U.S. Marshals and the other agencies up in Massachusetts and South Florida, it makes it easier, but they're all difficult. It's just even harder when they're not here locally.
Is the suspect Jones saying anything about any alleged involvement in what happened?
He gave statements. Like I said, I can't go into detail yet about what he said exactly, but he did give statements indicating he's aware of who the victim is and where she lives and the work that was being done at the house.
What message do you think this sends to people who may be waiting for answers in the death of a loved one?
The detectives do all they can to stay in contact with the families, and I know that they hear from the detectives that be as patient as you can, and we're working as hard as we can. This is an example of it does take some time sometimes, and eventually we're able to give them some good news.
Are you confident that the suspect, Messino, was really only involved in the dealing part and didn't at all try to scheme to have it stolen in the first place or anything like that?
No, we're pretty confident in that. Yeah.
Any other questions?
What was her cause of death?
Strangulation.
Was strangulation.
Strangulation, asphyxiation.
Yeah, Lieutenant, I'm sure. Repeat her name for us.
It's Marilyn Alou, A-L-U.
Yeah.
Will Fenton actually is, how did his takedown go? Did he come in, cooperate?
Well, he was brought here in handcuffs from the South Florida, but he was caught over in Texas by the U.S. Marshals, and I believe he was hiding in an attic is how they caught him.
Do you know how that all played out?
No, I don't.
Any other questions? Thanks, Lieutenant.
Thank you.
Thanks, sir.
Thanks.